We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another art vlog. I'm sorry it has been a little while since the last video, and that's just because I was actually in Japan for 2 weeks in the beginning of September, which was very exciting and such an amazing, wonderful trip. It was actually my first time there, and I didn't film too much, but I just wanted to share some moments from the trip. I was just in awe the whole 2 weeks, everything from the nature, the art, the temples, and of course the food was so amazing, and it was really a dream come true and a wonderful summer holiday. I actually celebrated my birthday during the trip as well, so that made it just all the more special, and I will cherish this time forever, and I cannot wait to go back and visit more places in different seasons as well. It was still so hot when we left. It was a little strange to come back to the Netherlands and to see that the leaves were already turning orange and falling off the branches, but I was very happy to see my favorite season was finally starting, and very excited to paint again after this little break. I recently noticed that a lot more people have been asking me how I mix my colors for painting, which colors I use, and how I make certain decisions on where and how to apply colors. So I thought in this video I could explain a little bit more on how I approach color mixing and why I choose certain colors for specific areas. When I started to paint when I was younger, I actually never learned anything about color theory. It was not even taught to me during my time at art school, so I taught myself much later by looking online, looking at other artists, and using online demos and classes. And this actually leads me to talk about our very first sponsor, which I'm very excited to talk about, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform with an extensive library of classes made for all kinds of creatives. Skillshare is designed to help you build your creative skills by learning directly from experienced and talented creatives. If you want to learn the basics of things like painting, drawing, or advance the creative skills you already possess, Skillshare has a class that will take your skill to the next level. A series of classes that really stuck out to me was the Beginner Color Theory classes by J.W. Learning. In these 5 classes, Josh explains everything you need to know about color, whether it be learning about hue, saturation, and values, how to mix and harmonize colors, or how to apply color effectively in order to make a realistic and artistic image. I really wish I knew about all of this sooner when I first started painting, since a lot of my first paintings looked really flat because I didn't really know anything about color theory. I was taking a lot of notes since some of the terms that were mentioned were still unknown to me, and I really got to learn in depth about all the different factors of choosing the right colors and how to break down your reference image in order to make a really effective painting. Knowing all of this only improves my painting that much more, so even if you are more experienced, these classes are perfect for refining your color mixing and expanding your knowledge about painting. So if you want to check out Skillshare for yourself, I highly recommend it, and the first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can get started learning today. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. So first of all, I wanted to share again the colors I basically use all the time, whether it be portraits, landscapes, or still lifes. These are all by Old Holland, but you can use any other brand. I think Gamblin or Winsor & Newton or any other brand really have great and affordable options as well. I personally used Winsor & Newton oil paints when I started out, and I still really like them. I will say that Transparent Oxide Red, Burnt Umber, and Red Gold Lake are probably the colors I use the most, just because I really prefer a warmer palette most of the time, which you might have already noticed. But I really love using Viridian Green as well to neutralize a lot of the red tones. I do have black on my palette, but I never use it straight out of the tube. I always mix some sort of other color in for those really dark shadows. In my last video, I started working on this big piece, so I just wanted to take you along for a little bit more of the process and explain a little how I approach certain areas. So here I started working on the top part of her dress. The blouse or chemise under the corset is a light cream color, so in shadows of white or cream colored fabric, I always start with a mixture of transparent oxide red, red gold lake, a little viridian green and white. I noticed that these folds are always quite warm and I personally like to keep them a little transparent, so I use Gamsol to thin my paints in the beginner stages. I start by just laying down the color in big planes, and I'm not really worried yet about how it's supposed to look in the end, because I already know this painting will take me some time to finish. I also wanted to block in the corset with the main color, not yet focusing on any details. I again use Gamsol to thin my paint, and I use a mixture of ultramarine blue, burnt umber and crimson to make this rich, dark red, purple hue to block in the main shapes. In the darker areas of the corset, I use a little bit more of the ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Now, since white is never really white, it actually consists of every color, I use a lot of yellows, oranges and greens to make the shadows. Especially in the second sleeve, that is a lot more in shadow than the first one I started. Especially in these early stages, it doesn't really look quote-unquote white yet, or off-white, just because I really want to start with these midtones and shadows first. Whenever I go in with the lighter colors, the shadows and the midtones of yellow, green and orange hues will really tie this together and give the fabric that much more depth. But I will show all of this more in a later video when I work some more on this specific painting. I'm sorry if this was a little all over the place, but I will explain a little more on how I mix colors later on in this video with a different painting. For now, I wanted to take a little break and prepare some of my paintings for a little shop update. It has been a while since I updated my shop, and I thought it would be nice to add a few new paintings to my website. I still cannot quite believe this is even something that I'm able to do, and I'm so grateful to every one of you who purchased a painting. It really means so much to me, and if you're interested in one of these pieces, all 4 of these are now available on my website. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to make prints, so I will keep you posted on this as well. I also wanted to share something very exciting. My partner got me this absolutely gorgeous journal from Louise Carmen for my birthday. I have been eyeing one of these to use as a journal, as a planner and sketchbook for a while, but they are so expensive that I just couldn't justify the price. So I was very happy and so grateful that he got me this for my birthday. I felt so scared to even touch it at first since it's so nice. It's this gorgeous plum color and I simply couldn't wait to use this every single day, and I already love it so much. I hope to fill this up completely and I cannot wait to see how this ages over time. During my trip to Japan, I saw the most gorgeous sights, and while I was there, I was so inspired to paint some of my memories there. I saw this beautiful pine tree when I was in Kyoto. The bark of the tree had this beautiful reddish hue and contrasts so nicely with the green surrounding it. I also love just how the branches grow downward and give this really interesting shape. So I thought it would be nice to take you along with this piece from start to finish and really explain more in depth how I approach painting a landscape such as this. I really hope you won't mind my rambling and it's somewhat clear to follow along. I hope to become better at this in the future as well. I always start by prepping my canvas or panels with a few layers of gesso and sanding it down in between, and using a mixture of Gamsol and transparent oxide red and burnt umber to tone the panel. After wiping this down, I start by using the same mixture to roughly sketch out the lines of the tree and where I want it to be positioned on the panel. Then I start to very roughly blocking the darker areas of the painting. This serves as an underpainting, which will make the green look warmer and the shadows deeper, since these nice red tones make for a great complementary color against all the green. Whenever you're painting landscapes, I always recommend to use some kind of red-orange tones in the shadows instead of just using a dark green, for example, since this will really bring that extra depth and life into the painting. I really need to practice this more myself and really want to improve my nature paintings, so I thought this study would be some good practice. By adding a little viridian and sap green to the same mixture, I start to lightly block in the shadows even more and slowly work in more of a green tone in the shadows. Now, by adding a little more red gold lake and the tiniest bit of white, I start to block in the trees that surround the pine tree and are a little more in the background, therefore a little lighter in value. For paintings such as this, it's very important to have nice but subtle differences between all the green tones to make the difference between the main tree, which is the focal point, the trees in the background, as well as the grass on the bottom part of the painting. And this is all in order to make the painting look a little bit more realistic. Now, since the greenery of the tree is quite cool toned in comparison to the warm, even almost yellow looking trees surrounding it, I use more of the ultramarine blue and viridian green for the main tree, and I'm saving the red gold lake and yellow light for the surrounding trees. It all comes from the same starting mixture, I just add a little more or a little less of these colors depending on which area I'm painting. Now for the sky, since it was a cloudy day when I took my reference picture, it is mainly one color, which also makes it a lot easier for us to paint. I start out with white and a little ultramarine blue, but the key is to incorporate a little of that green of the trees in the mixture in order to harmonize the sky with the warm colors of the leaves, the branches, and the grass. And actually the toned canvas already helps to do this as well. But I'm adding a little red gold lake and transparent oxide red to warm up that sky color in order to not make it too blue and really make it look like a cloudy gray sky that suits the warmer tones of the trees.
Oh, little bluebird, won't you fly me home, son? day. Fly the smoothest wind.
Now using the same initial dark mixture of viridian green, burnt umber, transparent oxide red, and a little crimson, and just adding the tiniest bit of white to slightly lighten the color, I am starting to make the treetops and carefully letting the brushstrokes blend in with the sky.
Fly me home to the place I long to be. Where I know everybody. And they know me. Miss Bluebell, won't you take me back there?
Now here I'm really using that yellow light and sap green to add to that mixture in order to paint the surrounding leaves that are a lot further back to create more depth and separation between the main tree and the background.
Take the cow in one hand, take me in the other. We can walk the whole way, sing songs to one another.
For the bark and branches of the tree, I actually used the same mixture for the sky, but I darkened it with ultramarine blue and burnt umber to make more of a blue-grayish tone that is still warm, which serves as a base for the tree. Since the branches are more orange or reddish in hue, I add more transparent oxide red to use for the top of the tree.
Take me home to the place.
Every green color I use in this painting ultimately stems from the same green mixture, which also brings a lot more harmony between all the colors. So I just added a little more white and ultramarine blue to make the grass color just a little bit cooler in tone than the leaves of the trees. Now I think painting grass is a little tricky just because you don't want it to feel like just a flat plane of color, but I also don't want it to be too detailed. So with applying this color, I really focus more on the texture and how I move my brush. I just try to move it around in an irregular motion to try and create the suggestion of grass. I think using a palette knife to apply paint and give some more shape and texture would work even better actually. So if you have one on hand, I think that would work really nicely. I'm adding a little transparent oxide red and red gold lake for some of the shadow areas in the grass, and adding a little bit more white and ultramarine blue in the areas where light is really hitting the grass. Then by adding more ultramarine blue, red gold lake, transparent oxide red and a little white, I'm really trying to make the highlights for the base of the tree.
I would go wherever you may lead. You're the sight that my soul I sorely need. Take me home to the place I long to be. Where I know everybody. They know me.
Now, taking a lot more transparent oxide red and red gold lake, I'm trying to mix those really nice red highlights the tree branches have, adding even a little bit of red light to make them just a little more pink. Now since we already blocked in a lot of the green of the tree, it already leaves me with a nice foundation that looks quite convincing. I'm only now in the end adding smaller brush strokes, adding a little bit of white and ultramarine and viridian green to our green mixtures to give the illusion of full tree branches with these small highlights that I'm making. Now I do the same with the trees in the background, but adding a little more yellow light and red gold lake with the white instead of those cooler blue and green colors. In the end, I really didn't need to do much with the final details just because the initial base of all those colors already gave us enough information to look at. Especially with nature, it's better to not give too much detail just because our eyes are already processing the image as a tree in this case, and otherwise it can look quite flat if you overwork the details too much. I hope I explained a little better how I make certain decisions when it comes to mixing and choosing colors, and I really hope you enjoyed following along with the process. I also really apologize for using my brushes to mix paint. I know it's better to use a palette knife, but I unfortunately have never really liked doing it that way. But yeah, that's it for this piece. I'm quite happy with how it turned out in the end, especially since I think I could use a lot more practice when it comes to painting nature and landscapes. And this just makes a lovely memory of my trip to Japan. And if you're interested, I will be adding this one to my shop as well. Now for something different but very exciting, I actually got this beautiful, wonderful Sargent and Paris book sent to me by the Met as a gift from my visit to the Sargent and Paris exhibition a few months ago, which is still so insane to me, and they were so unbelievably kind to invite me, let alone send me this book as well. So I am so grateful and so happy to add this to my ever-growing Sargent book collection. Flipping and reading through it immediately brought me back to my absolutely amazing visit, and I was immediately inspired to do some sketches in my journal from some of the paintings in the book. I already did a master study of another painting Sargent made of Rosina Ferrara, but I really wanted to make a little sketch of another profile of hers as well, just because I thought this one was so lovely. And I've mentioned this before, but the way Sargent positioned hands and painted them so delicately will never stop amazing me, so I just couldn't help myself and had to make some small sketches of these details as well. really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it inspired you a little in your own creative process. I hope I wasn't rambling too much in trying to explain everything, and I really hope it helps some of you with your own paintings or any sort of creations you might make. I am eternally grateful to each and every one of you that follow along, so thank you so much for watching. I hope to share some more work soon. I might be moving soon as well, which is a little hectic, but also very exciting. So I'll keep you updated on that here as well, of course. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.